The staggering events that have transpired in Washington, D.C. the past couple of days leave one of the most burning questions unanswered. What will Trump do in his final days in office? Trump has only 11 days left. 11 days left to decide how he wants to leave. The first option on the table that he has control over is staying in office and riding out the remaining 11 days of his presidency while he tries to tie up loose ends and solidify relationships that might be of benefit to him going forward in regards to any political future he's considering. The second option that Trump has control over is to resign. The editorial board of the Wall Street Journal just a couple of days ago, and these are people who for the past 4 years have been staunch supporters of Trump. They wrote an editorial article suggesting that Trump do just that, resign. Their words were, "This would be the cleanest solution since it would immediately turn presidential duties over to Mr. Pence, and it would give Mr. Trump agency, a la Richard Nixon, over his own fate. It is best for everyone, himself included, if he goes away quietly." The paper's team, basically, that's what they wrote and came up with. Personally, and I'm not a personal fan of Trump. I want to make that clear. But I don't think that resigning is in Trump's best interests if he has any desire, and he indicated very clearly that he has, for any kind of political future ambitions that he holds, either be it for himself or for members of his family. I think his supporters could very well see it and have it portrayed as a sign of weakness, of giving in, cowardice, an admission of guilt. And it could potentially leave a stain on what Trump no doubt wishes to portray as a legacy of strength. Though he might well do so. I mean, I don't know. I personally think it very unlikely that Trump would choose to resign. Now, if he chooses to stay, then there's a risk that one of two processes can be invoked against him: the 25th Amendment or a second impeachment. The 25th Amendment is a constitutional process that allows for the removal of a sitting president deemed no longer fit to carry out his duties. I don't think this is very likely to happen for two reasons. Number one is that Pence and the majority of his cabinet are against it, and without their support, the 25th Amendment, it can't be invoked. It's not going to go anywhere. And the second is that even if they were for it, the process in all likelihood is going to take far longer than the remaining 10 or 11 days, so it's kind of silly. So that leaves the other process, which is to impeach Trump for a second time. And it could be done in a matter of days. In fact, Nancy Pelosi is already planning to start the impeachment process on Monday. I think the Democrats need to be careful here, and I mean very careful. By trying to impeach a second time, they could be shooting themselves in the face. And, one of Trump's main rallying calls, and in my opinion it's resounded very deeply with his supporters, is that he's a Washington, D.C. outsider, that he's draining the swamp. He's not kind of like part of the old boys club kind of thing and everything. And that he's been the victim, basically, of unfair witch hunts, primarily by the Marxist Democrats. And this is a key point around which he pivots the whole premise that only he is the people's champion and only he can save America. Talking points that have very, very much also become firm beliefs with his supporter base and have helped to create a very antagonistic us versus them mindset. If the Democrats do choose to pursue this second impeachment, they could very well be helping enforce those beliefs. And that's the last thing you want, I think, amongst Trump supporters. And with only 11 days left, going for a second impeachment, it could very come across as being proof positive of just how vindictively malicious the left is, and that they'll stop at nothing to take down the Republican Party, and that they are evil people and an evil party and everything against them is justified. Personally, I think it's best that the Democrats, if they truly want to start healing the ever-growing divide in our nation between the left and the right, and that's a claim they often make, they need to take the lead and act in a way which clearly demonstrates that. They need to look forward at the bigger picture of what our nation needs and start ending this destructive gridlock in our government. Because in the end, we elect our officials to improve our nation, not to bicker back and forth endlessly whilst we pay taxes for their very generous salaries and benefits. And they can start ending it by not initiating this second impeachment proceeding against Trump and creating a martyr out of him. This is something that his supporters would latch onto so heavily. So thank you, everybody, and see you tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be discussing some of the options that Trump and his family have basically in their future after leaving office. Take care. I hope you enjoy the independent and non-partisan perspectives that I strive to present here at Plagued Politics. And if you do, please help support the channel through my Patreon page. To access it, click on the Plagued Politics logo under the video here. Doing so will take you to my YouTube homepage. From there, you can click on the link to my Patreon support page, and there are some neat rewards if you choose to support me. Doing so will help me improve the quality of my content. The equipment, you can probably tell I'm in need of a microphone, professional one, as well as the software, and to be able to dedicate the considerable amount of time and other resources that are needed to create these videos. And please, leave a comment or a criticism down below. It is my genuine goal to try and respond to each and every one of them when possible. Thank you so much for watching and also for supporting.